Hi, I'm Mike Monticello, Editor-in-Chief of Business Solutions Magazine. Thanks for joining me today on this video blog. One of the most common questions that readers ask me about IP video cameras is how easy or difficult is it to set up today's latest cameras? Well, we're going to find out. Axis Communications was nice enough to send me a ton of different video cameras, and today we're going to play around with this little guy. This is the Axis M1014. It looks pretty easy to install. There's only a couple little things here on the back of it, but we're going to find out just how easy or difficult it is. One thing that I want to point out before we get started is that when it comes to networking experience, I've got some from a previous life. I've forgotten most of it, and things have advanced so much that I can't even claim to be a networking guru by any stretch. And when it comes to IP cameras, I know even less. I know next to nothing. So this should be quite an adventure here, but we're going to see just how easy it is. So let's get started. All right, so here is our Axis M1014 network camera. Open this bad boy up. We've got an installation CD, which we'll play around with, a quick start guide, which has some basics here, plugging it in. We'll get to that. Some stickers, other legal junk. Here's the camera itself. Looks pretty simple. As I mentioned, there's an Ethernet port in the back and a power connection. Here's a power cable. With a lower end camera like this, it's going to have a power cable. Higher end cameras, and I think even this camera can come in a power over Ethernet version. I'm sure that costs extra money, but then you don't have to run a power cable to it. The power is actually supplied through the Ethernet cable. One other thing here, there's this little slot for, I'm assuming, one of these. This is some SD memory that Axis sent me, 32 gigabytes. You can set these cameras up to record to a DVR or external storage. However, what's nice about these cameras is that you can also record right to the SD memory card. So 32 gigabytes, I'm not sure exactly how much video that'll give us. We'll have to play around with that in a little bit here, but if you're recording only motion or certain events or certain times of day, that maybe like a retailer is in operation, or maybe you only want it recording after hours or what have you, and 15 frames per second. All these things go into it. You have to take into account. You might actually be able to get away with just recording to an SD memory card, which would significantly cut down the costs associated with this type of an installation. And yeah, so that's that. What else do we have here in the box? So we've got this little mount. I don't know, it looks like a vise. We'll play around with that later. And some screws for mounting. So let me grab the instruction manual, see what we're supposed to do next, and go from there. Okay, so for the purposes here of this demonstration, we're just plugging this thing anywhere. I'm plugging it in literally 2 feet away from my laptop, but that's fine. Instructions say to plug in the power and then plug in an Ethernet cable. So the Ethernet cable is on the network, and so is my laptop. So next thing we're going to do is install the software and see if we can access the camera. The CD that Axis provided, and this is what auto ran here. Installation management software. We'll do install product. Recommended installation tools for Windows. IP utility for single camera and small installs. Certainly sounds like what we have here. Camera management for large installs. Other methods. Okay, ways to assign the IP address. Camera companion is easy to use network video surveillance solution for systems with up to 16 cameras. So this is some other software. And then media control. Okay, well, the installation manual showed a little IP utility here for single install, so let's click download and see what we get.
Okay, this can be harmful. We'll keep it. Looks like it downloaded it off the CD, and we will run it. And here we go. So it's pretty impressive. This, I'm assuming, is our camera here. It already has an IP address that's on our network. There's a serial number. Not sure if I should be hiding that or not. What can we do here? Assign a new IP address. If we didn't like the one that I'm assuming DHCP handed out. Assign a new IP address. Display device homepage. So let's do that. Okay, so it looks like it's trying to hit that camera via web browser, and it's asking for a username and password, which I have no clue about. So click cancel here. Go back to the IP utility. What else is here? Test IP address. It is accessible. Okay, so not really sure what else to do here. I'm assuming that this is just like it says, a utility to assign IP addresses. Let's play around with this camera companion now and see what that's all about. We will click install Axis Camera Companion. Okay, select language. Next. Does anyone actually read that stuff? Create a desktop icon. Next. Install. Okay, updating DirectX. Not much to that install. Okay, we'll click finish and launch it. See what we get. Splash screen, you gotta like that they're showing retail setting there for this. Get started, set up a new site. So we'll just call this camera site. Password. You can type in whatever you want there. I usually just type my social security number. That's 17827. Okay, just kidding. Next. Connect cameras. Alright, those are already connected, but this shows you here, insert the SD memory card, which we did, insert the network cable. We have green lights on the back of our camera. Hit next. So this is searching for the cameras, and look at that, there's the camera right there. I'm expecting it not to find any other cameras on our network. One cameras will be added to the site. Alright, so click next. Setting up a network share. Storage already configured. That's that SD memory card. And we'll click finish and see what we get. Alright, so there is our camera live right now. I'm assuming that down here we'd have other cameras listed if we had other cameras, and this actually shows, you know, the camera that's selected. What do we have? So we're in live view. Go to recordings. Interesting. So if I hit play, looks like while this thing has been sitting here, alright, so we got some people as they were walking by. Someone moved the camera. Interesting. Okay. Well, we know it's working and it's already recording, so we didn't even have to do anything. It's recording. So, what do we have here? So here's our camera listed. I went to configuration. can add more cameras, remove a camera, refresh the list. Rotate counterclockwise. Rotate clockwise. That's interesting. If we rotate this, I saw this at a conference. Axis was showing that you could rotate the cameras. You might be thinking, why would you want to do this? Well, imagine the layout that we had here. We've got this part of the wall that we didn't even care to see, and these part of the cubicles that we don't really even need to see. All we really care about is this hallway here. So by rotating the camera, you have to obviously mount it the right way. Rotating the camera, you're able to give yourself what's called like a corridor view. So you get like a long view of that hallway, which is you can make better use of the camera that way. That's kind of cool. We will rotate it back though. Let's see what else we can do. So from here, it looks like there's our IP address. Storage, we can adjust this. Alright, it goes to an SD card, or we can connect to a network share. There's out there right now, so we'll just hit cancel. Recordings, that looks like it's set to motion recording, which is why we were getting some things recorded earlier. Sensitivity to motion, and then look at this, look at all these different profiles here for the quality of the video. So depending on your customer needs, you might not necessarily have to have this thing cranked all the way up to high def, and then your frame rate can be adjusted. And it looks like you can also schedule it to only record during certain times of the day. What else here? Site. Okay, so that's the site information that we set up to begin with. Internet access. Access your camera from the internet. So that's pretty cool. Assuming that this isn't working right now because I'm behind a firewall and on the corporate network here. So that might be something to play with in another video, getting our IT guy involved and punching a hole in our firewall so we can play around with that. Customize video thumbnails, video rendering. Alright, this stuff goes kind of beyond what I'm interested in right now. This is kind of interesting. This is hyperlinked. What happens when we click on this? Okay, we advise that only advanced users attempt this. That's clearly me. Enter ACC admin as username and your site password. Do you want to continue? Yes. Okay. The password. So this must have been earlier when we were getting hit up with that information. Now we have learned what it is. So let's click login and see what we get here. Oh, no, not save this. Alright, so we're actually hitting the IP address of this camera, and this information came up, so it looks like kind of like backdoor into the camera can play around with some configuration settings here. Password, username and password. TCP/IP settings. So with the camera companion, we could adjust with the IP utility, we could adjust the IP address. This looks like we can do a lot more. We can actually adjust subnet, router, enable IPv6. So that's pretty neat. Date and time, we won't go into that. Video stream. Okay, so here are those different recording options we saw in Camera Companion. There's compression though, mirror image, rotate image, so this is similar to what we had in Camera Companion, except it looks like you can flip it upside down. Some other information, your overlays, things like that. Okay, stream profiles. Okay, it looks like you can create different profiles that will quickly adjust a lot of those settings depending on what your needs are. Camera settings. Okay, so I guess I should point out at this point, we installed this camera in a few minutes, really. But to take it to the next level, there's a lot more that you'd want to do. I mean, you'd want to be, depending on the location of the camera, the lighting, you'd want to be playing around with some of these other settings in here: brightness, sharpness, contrast, white balance. So it's nice that you can come in here and do all that. Overlay image, okay, I'm assuming that's kind of like a watermark. I won't play around with that, but I guess if you had a customer that was interested in doing something with a video camera other than surveillance, say for instance they wanted to put a camera, I don't know, maybe they have like a dock or a pier or some kind of nice scenic setting on location, you could have the camera and maybe have that connected to their website so people could pull it up. Privacy masks. So I'm assuming that you can probably block out certain sections of the video if you didn't want to ever see the video in those areas. Live view layout, so I'm assuming that's just adjusting kind of what we can see. That's kind of neat. Camera tampering, so it'll alert us when there's some tampering. Motion detection. So okay, we've just been hit up. Let's try our password here again. This is for Java this time. We'll save that. So we have a window here that we could resize. So say we only wanted to see when Johnny leaves his cube. We should be able to set a little motion here. This is obviously a horrible example. We would not want to be watching our employees like this, but anyway. Adjust sensitivity. Save. Oh, there's... Oh, we almost got that guy. Hopefully, it would have been nice if he had gone in there. We could have tested this out. See if we can get him on the way back. So you can... Oh, there we go. Interesting. So we're getting some activity down here. Perfect. Oh, that worked out really well. Alright. So, that's pretty neat. I wonder if we have that video. So if we go back to Camera Companion, go to Recordings, there he is. So that actually worked. Someone who likes to carry their laptop around. Alright. What else do we have here? If we go to Events, so Motion Events, let's add an event and see what we can do. So you create rules. What's our triggers? Storage system. Motion detection. Okay, and look, there's John as our zone. So I'm assuming if we had other zones, we could select them. We can schedule it. Okay, and then what do we want to do? We can record video, which we're already doing. Let's send images. So we can send JPEGs. We can say how many. And then we can say new recipient. Okay, we can select email as our recipient. Type in an email address. And then I'm assuming that whenever these rules are met, an email would be sent with some images. That's pretty neat. Looks like here we can adjust our recipients, tweak what we mean by these certain schedules here. Recurrences, okay. Here's a list of our recordings. So there's been a lot of little recordings and activity. Continuous. Okay. And then system options. So, like I said already, we've already configured the camera. The camera is working. At this point, we're just kind of like fine-tuning things. I don't think I'm going to play any more with this. That's it. That's pretty simple.
So that was the installation of this camera, and you know, as you saw, it was pretty darn simple. Within a matter of minutes, I had the thing up and running and doing quite a bit. Now, obviously, there's a lot more to it. I don't want to minimize what it takes to do video surveillance the right way. You know, we're talking about you need to know where to mount these things the right way. You need to know how to customize them. You need to know how to select the right camera. I mean, this camera is going to be good for certain situations, but in other situations it's going to be horrible. So you need to make sure that you understand how these cameras work, and you know, in selecting the right camera. So that's all for this one. I'm going to call this one done, and now maybe we'll play around with this camera next. This is a little dome camera. It's got a memory card in the slot in the back. I see that right now. But we'll leave the installation of this camera for the next video. So thanks for joining me and sitting through that long video demo. Hopefully you found it worth your time. Appreciate you joining me, and I look forward to setting this one up with you next time.